Test, test, test. Test, test, test. Test, test, test. Et maintenant, on test, test, test. Est-ce qu'on m'entend là en fait ou pas? Test. Test, 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 test. Test, test, test. Test, test, test.
Ridley, are you okay?
Blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. But I don't. Check, 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 check. Master panelist. Blah, blah, blah. Test, test, test. Test, test.
The mic?
Yeah.
So they come here?
For junctions.
I see. Because they are So, Gallego, how are you? Hi. Hello. How are you? Yes. So you will play next time? Yes. Yes.
Please take your seats. Good morning. Good morning. Please take your seats. Ladies and gentlemen, honorable members of the European Parliament, esteemed representatives of European institutions and Roma civil society, dear colleagues and friends, good morning and welcome. It is my greatest honor to open this high-level event of Roma Week 2025 here in the European Parliament. Let me begin by expressing a heartfelt appreciation for the musical contribution that opened today's program. We were deeply moved by the exceptional performance of Antonio Piccoleata, violinist, and Alize Fripiat, artist on harp. Their artistry has not only elevated the spirit of this gathering, but also reminded us of the extraordinary creative force of Roma talent. Let me add a special note of admiration for Antonio Piccoleata, who also still a high school student, is already an accomplished violinist. He's a former student of the Juilliard School and a mentee of the legendary Itzhak Perlman. His presence here today symbolizes what becomes possible when young Roma are nurtured and empowered to realize their full potential. The high-level event today Today's high-level event takes place in the framework of the Jekhipe Project, co-funded by the Citizens' Equality, Rights and Values SELF program of the European Commission, Directorate General for Justice and Consumers. The project's name, Jekhipe, meaning togetherness, reflects our commitment to advancing Roma inclusion through solidarity, shared responsibility, and strategic action across institutions and societies. I have the privilege to chair today's event in my capacity as Executive Director of the European Roma Institute for Arts and Culture, ERIAC. And ERIAC is an international organization that is Roma-led, values-based, and committed to countering anti-Gypsyism through the transformative power of arts and culture. We are particularly grateful to Mr. Nicolae Ștefănuță, who is on the way, Vice President of the European Parliament. He will be joining us very soon, who graciously hosts this event. His leadership and commitment to human rights, equality, and the dignity of all citizens offer hope to Europe's Roma communities and ensure that their voices are heard at the heart of the European Union. We extend our thanks to the Ergo Network, our co-organizers, not only for this high-level event, but for coordinating the entire rich and impactful Roma Week 2025 program. Thank you for ensuring that Roma realities are brought into the policy debate with strength and coherence, dear Ergo colleagues. On behalf of ERIAC, I wish to express profound gratitude to the Council of Europe for its continued commitment to the Roma cause. It is a great honor to welcome Mr. Bjorn Berge, Deputy Secretary General of the Council of Europe, whose presence testifies to the importance of coordinated action between the European Union and Council of Europe in addressing anti-Gypsyism and promoting Roma rights. I'm also proud to acknowledge the presence of the chairman of the board of ERIAC, Mr. Jekhipe, who also serves as president of the Roma Foundation for Europe. His strategic vision and unyielding advocacy for Roma empowerment are foundational to the growing institutional presence of Roma in European public life. Let us now proceed with the opening statements from our distinguished speakers. Each of them plays a vital role in shaping European policy, upholding democratic values, and supporting Roma inclusion across the European member states. We need to wait a few more minutes for Nicolae Ștefănuță, Vice President, to join us. I'm looking to co-organizers to confirm this. We continue. All right. So then let me invite Mr. Bjorn Berge, Deputy Secretary General of the Council of Europe, to make his contribution. The Council of Europe has long championed Roma rights and the fight against anti-Gypsyism. We are privileged to welcome Mr. Berge, Deputy Secretary General for the Council of Europe, a key voice in promoting human rights, democracy, and the rule of law throughout Europe.
Thank you very much, Timea, and a very good morning to all of you. It's really great to see all of you here today. Bartalo Romano Dive. April 8 marks also the anniversary of the birth of the late UN Secretary General Kofi Annan. So it feels especially fitting as we focus on education today, to recall his words. I quote, "Education is much more than a lesson in schools or a theme for a day. It is a process to equip people with the tools they need to live lives of security and dignity." End of quote. This is a reminder of exactly why we are here today. To give education and basically Roma history and culture their rightful place in Europe's story, past, present, and future. Especially now, in a time of democratic backsliding, with new narratives are trying to rewrite our history. Teaching the history and the rich culture of Roma and traveler communities is essential to building just, democratic societies. And yet, we fall short. Last year, the Observatory on History Teaching in Europe released its first general report covering 16 European countries. Just half of these countries included Roma and traveler history in their national curricula. Almost 60% of history teachers said Roma and traveler history was inadequately covered. In some countries, that number reached 90%. These numbers matter because what we teach and what we leave out tells young people whose stories count, whose lives matter. Across too many parts of Europe, segregation in schools remains a daily experience for Roma and traveler communities. In some places, Roma children make up 100% of certain classrooms, not by choice, but by design. This is not integration. This is segregation. These are signs of structural inequality in education, inequality that democracy alone has not yet solved. That is why the Council of Europe has been a key voice in advancing Roma rights through the judgments of our court, of course, but also the standards we set and the dedicated work of our experts bodies like ECRI and the Advisory Committee on the Framework Convention for the Protection of National Minorities. At the heart of this is the Committee of Experts on Roma and Traveler Issues, ADIROM. Its 2024-2027 terms of reference outline very clear priorities: combating discrimination, fostering inclusion, and ensuring meaningful participation. These efforts are backed by targeted cooperation with member states. A new strategy for Roma and traveler inclusion is also in preparation, reaffirming our commitment to building fairer, more inclusive societies. This brings me to our key recommendations from 2020, which calls on member states of the Council of Europe to integrate Roma and traveler history into existing school subjects. To support this work, our Committee of Experts, ADIROM, has developed a capacity building program and various tools with input from the European Roma Institute of Arts and Culture, ERIAC. The Council of Europe helped launch ERIAC so that Roma voices could lead the way in telling their own story. The Barva Lippe University masterclasses are a great example. I also want to mention the Roma Memory Program, a joint initiative with the European Commission, which raises awareness of Roma history, culture, and the Roma Holocaust. Here, I want to express my gratitude to the Commission for its continued collaboration, partnership, and trust. Let me conclude with a call to action that was made exactly 54 years ago. Opre Roma. Stand up, Roma. This was the rallying cry at the first World Romani Congress held in Chelsfield, near London, on 8th of April, 1971. This month, we mark the Opre Roma month, a time to celebrate the rich contributions of Roma history, language, and culture to Europe's long and fascinating history. It is time to stand up for Roma history and culture in our schools, our societies, in short, everywhere. We take a stand for equality, for dignity, and for the promise of democracy. And let us never forget that Our universal human rights begin in small places, close to home, so close and so small that they cannot be seen on any maps of the world. Yet they are the world of the individual person. The neighborhood he or she lives in, the school or college he or she attends, the factory, farm, or office where he or she works. As Eleanor Roosevelt wisely reminded us of many years ago. Such are the places where every man, woman, and child seeks equal justice, equal opportunity, equal dignity without discrimination. And unless these rights have a meaning there, they have little meaning anywhere. So I guess the simple yet so challenging conclusion is that without you and me and our fellow citizens upholding these rights close to home, we shall look in vain for progress in the larger world. I thank you.
Thank you. We are honored to continue with our host, Mr. Nicolae Ștefănuță, Vice President of the European Parliament. Vice President Ștefănuță, your principled leadership and strong support for civil society inclusion and minority rights inspire a more just and equitable European Union. We warmly welcome your speech.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. And I'm so proud that we have Roma Week in which we celebrate and a Roma Day, but celebration doesn't mean only giving one day in which we speak about the subject, but it means giving ourselves room for thought for an entire year of action. And I'm very happy to see people that I know, especially from my country. Bună ziua, bine ați venit. But from the whole of Europe, different Roma organizations, some of which I know, Ergo, obviously, with whom I cooperated. I see the Roma Education Fund is also here, if I'm not mistaken, and other ones as well. So I have a few key messages for you. I'm in charge as a Vice President of the Parliament for diversity, for inclusion, for non-discrimination. And as such, I'm very, very proud to host this event. I'm not the only one in charge. I think the head of that group is my colleague from Poland, whose name I forget for the moment, but I'll remember in a second. You have to excuse me, I come from a very long distance from Tashkent, in which I participated in an international event. But I start everything from the social aspects. I think without the social aspects, there can be no solution to a general problem. And I give you a few numbers. The fact that a lot of Roma are seen discriminated in front of the administration. People are paperless. When they go in relation with the state, they are treated as subhumans. They are treated with disconsideration, as if they don't deserve to have an ID, as if they don't deserve to have a valid wedding certificate or birth certificate. And that's not okay. I start from the fact that housing is an issue. People are expropriated in the middle of the winter and sent to live in barracks. I've seen this in the city of Cluj with a very famous Patarât example, but these are examples such as this are everywhere and not only in my country. So sub-decent human conditions are something to not accept in Europe under any conditions. Roma citizens are European citizens, and they deserve equal rights and equal treatment, equal opportunities. 77% of children in my country, and I also remember now the name of my head of the group for discrimination. It is obviously Mrs. Eva Kopac. I just needed my brain to start functioning. 77% of the children in Romania do not finish a normal cycle of school. And it is not because, as people might think, that the families withdraw them and they don't want them there. It's also because they can't, they don't have the means. So programs such as a warm meal in school, free transportation to school, a set of school supplies that is supplied by the state could really all help. You always have to look in the economic fundamentals of why these phenomena work or not. And I believe we have also speakers from the Commission. So when we set up educational programs, try to think always of the economical background. Because a Roma kid can almost never go on an Erasmus program, for instance. Because the Erasmus program is financed in such a way to satisfy a multitude of people, millions, but with little money. So what does that mean for the budget of a family? It means that they have to put extra money for the kid to go. And that discriminates, that makes a differentiation between those that have and the have-nots. And the have-nots fall behind in opportunity. And for me, that is a crime. Every time I see a child on the street, I see it as if it were my own child. I'm a father, and I feel it, I empathize with children very much, and I cannot stand to see children not being able to go to school, to create a chance for themselves. As regards languages, we have in this parliament a discussion about having more languages being represented. I asked my colleagues how many Roma MEPs we have, and I think in the previous parliament, we used to have a few Roma MEPs.
4.
Yes, and now we have 4? 0. Except we have the previous. Me, you said. I'm very happy to take this honor. As a Transylvanian, I tend to identify with all the nationalities and ethnicities that are present in Transylvania. And when I was young, I had the ambition to learn all the languages, including Romanes. So I'm very happy to include, if you want to include me as your own. We also have the capital, no, in CBU, where I'm from. I see Mr. Chaba, so it's where we're from. So I'm very happy to attend. Now, we used to have in the previous mandate four MEPs and a vice president. Of course, that's debatable. She came from a party that I don't particularly like, but she was a member of the community, and she did fight for Roma rights. So there I see a decline in this new parliament, a decline of Roma representation, a decline of women representation, which has never happened. We always went up in terms of women representation. This is the first time we go down. And that is part of the cultural wars we are undergoing. And now I come to a very political topic. Social rights also depend on political rights and depend on cultural wars. Cultural wars are very divisive. They present the world in white or black, and people have to choose a side. And for the moment, there's a certain side that is winning, and it's not the side that is favoring the right of minorities. Even in this parliament, there's a lot of anti-Roma sentiment. I held a speech last week in the plenary. I was very happy that we had a plenary debate about it. But what I heard, made me ashamed. And I had to address the issues because there were members speaking about stereotypes, about theft, about Roma people producing children just to get money from the state, about this and the other. and my skin crawled and I had to respond to those members. I couldn't just let it go. And I will always do that in this parliament. I won't let the extreme right narrative win the day. And I think we should really do that. Not let the extreme right win the day, because then this hateful speech becomes normalized, becomes part of the mainstream. And then we are back to the 1930s. And I never want to be back to the 1930s again. Not on this continent. I conclude because I think I'm taking more time than the other speakers, but that's what politicians do, by saying something about NGOs. In the room, I see a lot of presence of NGOs, various NGOs, etc. And that is very good. And I'm so happy that there's more NGOs active. You know, in Romania, I know the example of the Roma Fund for Democracy, who's trying to build political representation of young Roma leaders, etc. But the climate for NGOs is negative right now. Is negative, as you know. And Europe is trying to supplant the part that went away from the funding. But we won't be able to do it just because the numbers are so big. The gap is so big that the EU by itself can do it. However, I think it is an obligation for the Union to step up and say, without NGOs, there's no democracy. Without minority protection, there's no democracy. So it is part of not only a soft policy, but it's part of our defense. It's part of who we are as Europe. It's part of whether we choose to be the leaders of democracy and liberty in the world, or we disband. It's as important as that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Now we invite Ms. Anna Gallego Torres, Director General for Justice and Consumers from the European Commission, to the microphone. Director General Gallego Torres leads the Commission strategic work to strengthen justice, equality, and protection of rights across the European Union. We are grateful for the Commission support for the Jekhipe Alliance and its investment in Roma civil society.
Thank you very much, and good morning to all of you. Good morning, Vice President Ștefănuță, and congratulations on your powerful words and your powerful stand to defend integration of Roma communities and to defend basic human rights and basic dignity of these communities. Thank you for inviting me and for inviting the European Commission to this Roma Week. It is always a very satisfying appointment every year to participate. I'm truly honored to be with you here today and kick off this Roma Week. Let me, before I begin, let me express my heartfelt admiration to Antonio for the stunning performance. Congratulations for that. I myself come from a region in Spain where Roma communities are very rooted, where culture and music is part of our own, and I feel very moved by your music. It's different in Spain. It's more flamenco, but it is still linked, and I feel it very close to my heart. And I'm moved by witnessing how education can actually make a difference in providing a future to so many talented young men and women who, when given an opportunity, can make a difference and can contribute with their talent, with their culture, with their traditions to enrich our own culture and our own traditions. This is something that we should cherish, that we should not just do away with it, because it is part of our history. I also want to extend my heartfelt thanks to ERIAC, ERGO, and all the partners involved in the Jekhipe Project and for the organization of this event. While we feel the absence, as Vice President just recalled, the absence of Roma MEPs this year in this mandate, and a direct voice for Roma people across the EU, let us use this as fuel to drive impactful debates and to reaffirm our unwavering commitment to Roma inclusivity, hoping that maybe in the next mandate, we will have more participation. We need to support and to promote participation of all communities, and namely Roma communities, to have a voice, a direct voice. But in the meantime, I'm glad to hear that there are people that will take this role. Roma discrimination and stigmatization have persisted for generations. We know it too well. As we come together to celebrate International Roma Day, we are reminded of the continuous efforts required to change this pervasive, this persistent narrative. Our commitment to this cause is outlined as has been recalled in the EU Roma Strategic Framework, which prioritized education for the transformative power of education in addressing historical and systemic inequalities that Roma communities face, that Roma children, boys and girls, young men and women face. The European Commission has long viewed education as a tool, as a very powerful tool to promote equality, to combat discrimination, to foster inclusive communities by exposing Roma and non-Roma children to one another, to know each other's culture. We combat discrimination, we combat stereotypes. And by integrating an accurate and nuanced portrayal of Roma history, language, culture, into the school curricula and textbooks, we are not only enriching our own understanding of Roma heritage as an essential part of our European society, we are also helping to counter these negative narratives and challenging stereotypes that justify discrimination and exclusion and lead to marginalization. This promotes empathy and understanding among non-Roma students from this exposure. And it also instills pride and sense of belonging for Roma students to their communities as part of the broader society, but without renouncing and without giving up on their traditions and on their sense of belonging to their communities. But it's this mutual understanding and this mutual knowledge and exposure that will make a difference in fighting discrimination. The European Commission remains steadfast in its commitment to combat anti-Gypsyism, a pervasive and insidious form of racism that has persisted for far too long and still persists. We support initiatives that document and preserve Roma history, Roma language, cultural heritage, including through funding. Your project, Jekhipe, which focuses on transnational justice, is a very good example of how EU funding under the Citizens' Equality, Rights and Values Programme can be put to good use. And it's really impressive to see the results of this funding, how with so little, because in the end it's very little, we can do so much. For 2025 alone, the SERVE program has allocated a budget of 243 million euros to support projects focused on Roma inclusion, equality, remembrance, and children's rights. We are also supporting national Roma contact points and initiatives of the Council of Europe, such as ROMACT, Roma Memory, and Equidom, to combat anti-Gypsyism, to promote local participation and preserve Roma Holocaust remembrance. Moreover, we work closely with member states to support the implementation of the national Roma strategic frameworks and to combat anti-Gypsyism. Our last implementation report dates from September 2024 and shows encouraging developments. And let me just name a few of them. For example, Germany appointed its first federal government commissioner against anti-Gypsyism. Czechia chose a Roma woman as Commissioner for Roma Affairs, and Slovakia's parliament passed a resolution recognizing anti-Roma racism as a specific form of racism. This is a big step. It is impressive that we have to say this in 2025, but sometimes we have to remind ourselves that rooted forms of racism are still racism. And still the road ahead is long and very challenging. To accelerate this progress, we are calling on all member states to take decisive action, to prioritize the fight against anti-Gypsyism, not to take it for granted as a cultural thing, and to work with us to find solutions that can bring about meaningful change. The Commission's constant communication with the national Roma contact points, support for specialized Roma surveys by the Fundamental Rights Agency, and for the work of the Roma Civil Monitoring is crucial for informing targeted policies and funding. And let me be clear, anti-Gypsyism cannot be fought alone, and it is not for the Roma communities, for Gypsy communities to fight for it. It is for a whole of society approach, and we all have to be engaged and committed to fighting anti-Gypsyism. We need everyone, we need member states, we need civil society, we need experts to build knowledge. We need every one of you here today to join forces. And together we can address the ongoing challenges and barriers, from lack of access to education or segregated education, as was mentioned, lack of access to employment, discriminatory policies and practices. We must recognize the driving force of integration to end discrimination. I have attended myself as a child a school with half of Roma students, and we were exposed to one another. And this is the only way we can sympathize, we can build empathic relationships in our societies. And it's the only way also that Roma boys and girls can also widen their horizons and be part of their societies, of the societies they live in, as much as part of the communities they belong to. We also recognize the need to continue supporting and empowering Roma-led groups who play a critical role in advocating for Roma rights and fostering positive change. Dear friends, as we mark International Roma Day, we honor the rich history, the cultural heritage, and contributions of the Roma community to Europe. We acknowledge the continuing challenges and reaffirm our commitment to equality, to justice, and human rights for everyone, for all communities. Today is more than a celebration of Roma culture, language, identity, music. Let this day be a catalyst for action, a reminder of our shared responsibility in creating an inclusive future for everyone and for every culture. I thank you very much for your dedication, for your work in this project, and for being part of this essential journey. And I wish you a very happy Roma Week. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the inspiration and your instructing words, Commissioner Torres. Inclusive education is the foundation of Roma futures. Our next speaker is Mr. Tomáš Drucker, Minister of Education, Research, Development and Youth of the Slovak Republic. Minister Drucker, your commitment to systematic change and access to quality education for Roma children is an important contribution to this agenda. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues. It's also for me a real honor to be with you here in Brussels for Roma Week, an event that brings together not just people, but also ideas and policies rooted in a shared belief. All of us, we believe that inclusion, equality, and access to quality education are not just inspiring values. They are essential building blocks of a fair and modern Europe. I'm here not just to talk, but also to listen and learn. And I know that we have many challenges to allow every person, every inhabitant to live quality, fulfilling, and dignified life. But let me share what we are doing these days, these weeks, these last few years in Slovakia, honestly and openly, and probably better understand the work of our partners across Europe, because we all face similar challenges and simply we cannot solve all of them alone. In Slovakia, we have made some important progress in helping children from disadvantaged backgrounds, especially Roma communities. First of all, get better access to education. But we know that progress is not enough. What we need is a real, lasting change backed by strong policies, proper funding, and day-to-day work in classrooms, schools, and communities. At the Ministry of Education, we have made 3 priorities central to our work, and they align closely with today's discussion. First, it's early childhood education. Second is tackling segregation. And third is reducing the number of children in special schools. Early childhood education. I believe that giving children a strong education start early in the life absolutely greatly improves their future opportunities. And this is why we already changed the financing of our pre-primary schools. Since January 1st, the state overtook this responsibility. Pre-primary education is already mandatory from age of 5. And also from this year, children aged 3 and 4 have the right to a preschool place. We have also changed how preschools are funded, as I mentioned. And over the next few years, we're preparing compulsory preschools for all 3 and 4 years olds. And we are taking over the responsibility for creches to ensure access from an even earlier age, 2 years old, because most of children from disadvantaged environment, what they really need is the education, better start to have the chance to succeed. Tackling the segregation, it's very big issue. Specifically in Slovakia, we are aware of it. And segregation, especially of Roma children, remains one of our biggest challenges in schools, communities, and on the labor market. And I believe that we are taking clear and concrete steps to fix this. We have added a legal definition of segregation into our educational law. We have introduced a methodology that helps schools recognize and address it. And now we are running also the pilot desegregation projects in 12 municipalities to test the real solutions. I know there is no magical wand to solve everything immediately in one simple and single solution. But if we don't try, we don't do something, then definitely we cannot expect that it's somehow be solved automatically. We are working to introduce Roma language as an auxiliary language in schools with a Roma majority, with Roma mother tongue students, but with full respect the principle of inclusion. And third, I mentioned reducing the number of children in special schools. That's also an issue in Slovakia. Far too many Roma children end up in special schools, and this is one of the main reasons for the European Commission's infringement procedure against Slovakia. And again, we must accept the reality, and we are tackling it head on. We have started a national rediagnosis project, checking every children from age 6 to 9 attending the special schools. diagnose whether they are eligible for this special schooling or not. We are also reforming the rules for special schools, including making it easier for children to move on the mainstream secondary education. And we are backing these changes with action and funding. Slovakia is using European tools to support inclusive education. I know, and I believe everybody wants to have inclusion in education. Sometimes not easy. It's not easy. Sometimes we have a lot of biases, but that's our priority, and we are doing our best to support our schools, to our teachers, and also the parents to understand advantages for all community. As a Minister of Education and also as a parent, I believe that every child deserves the chance to succeed. But that chance doesn't come from luck. It comes from what we do, the policies we adopt, the support we provide, and of course, the world we build around each child. Roma Weeks remind us that we combine political will, expert knowledge, and trust we can move forward together. Thank you.
Thank you. I asked the technical colleagues support because we invite the video message from Ms. Katarzyna Kotula, Minister for Equality Government of the Republic of Poland, who brings the voice of the EU presidency to this occasion today, reaffirming equality as a core value and the priority of the Union.
Dear friends and colleagues, with a strong regret, I'm speaking to you today via a video message. Yet, I'm still honored that today, on the 8th of April, which is the International Roma Day, I can share a few words with you as the Minister of Equality, a member of the Polish Parliament, and as the Presidency of the Council of the EU. Thank you for addressing this important topic. Dear friends and colleagues, with a strong regret, I am speaking to you today via a video message. Yet, I'm still honored that today, on the 8th of April, which is the International Roma Day, I can share a few words with you as the Minister of Equality, a member of the Polish Parliament, and as the Presidency of the Council of the EU. Thank you for addressing this important topic. Dear friends,
we try to fix the technical glitch. I ask for your patience just a tiny bit.
and colleagues,
Because of the lack of time, we will proceed and we might come back here after the next contribution. I continue with mentioning the work of Dr. Mehmet Gürcan Daimagüler, the German Federal Government Commissioner for Anti-Gypsyism and for the life of Sinti and Roma in Germany, who offers a model of courageous and effective institutional response to anti-Gypsyism. His voice is essential to our European dialogue on recognition, justice, and repair, He could not join us in person today, so I invite Eileen König, his colleague, to read his contribution.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellencies, dear colleagues and friends, good morning, everyone. My name is Eileen. I'm a policy officer of the first federal government commissioner against anti-Gypsyism and for the life of Sinti and Roma in Germany. On behalf of the federal commissioner, Mehmet Daimagula, I want to thank you for the invitation to speak at the opening event on Roma history and culture in school curricula. Unfortunately, Mr. Daimagula is not able to join today, but he is very sorry about it and wish you all a good event and interesting panel discussion, because it is a necessary sign that we are talking about education today. Anyone who speaks seriously about equal participation and who is serious about tackling anti-Gypsyism cannot ignore what happens or doesn't happen in our schools. Education is never neutral. It plays a decisive role in determining which histories are told and which are left out. If Roma and Sinti are absent from school curricula, if their history, their contributions, and their perspectives are not reflected, then this is not only a pedagogical gap, it is also a political one. Because invisibility creates space for stereotypes, and stereotypes can quickly turn into exclusion. Roma and Sinti have lived in Germany for over 600 years. They are the largest minority in Europe. Their history is part of both German and European history. It is also a history of resistance, of cultural and social contributions, and of civil rights struggle. In Germany, it was above all the effort of the Sinti and Roma civil rights movement that led, starting in the 1980s, to the official recognition of the genocide under National Socialism, a long overdue step. Today, the task is to ensure that the history is taught in schools as a permanent part of the national and European narrative. Students should learn that Sinti and Roma have been part of the society for centuries, with their history, with cultural contributions, but also with the experience of exclusions and persecution. Education can build bridges and promote recognition and inclusion. We have taken initial steps in Germany. We observe a structural improvement in the fight against anti-Gypsyism. In 2022, the office of the first federal government commissioner against anti-Gypsyism was established. Further, we strengthened the structures of political participation of Sinti and Roma organizations and the coordination between the state and the Länder level. Recently, the Standing Conference of Ministers of Education issued recommendations on how the history and culture of Sinti and Roma and anti-Gypsyism should be addressed in German schools. Studies in Germany have highlighted how significant the gaps still are in curricula and teaching materials concerning these topics. Roma and Sinti organizations are actively addressing these gaps through teaching tools, workshops, and community-based projects. These projects help to foster structural change in our education system and strengthen democratic values in our society. Today, we celebrate the International Roma Day. It is clearly a symbolic step, but every citizen in Europe should learn in school about this day, and it should be the opportunity to talk about the history, the present situation of Roma and Sinti in Europe. Once again, I want to thank you for the invitation and for organizing this event. And yes, thank you.
I turn to the technical booth, request information, whether we shall try to repeat Minister Kotule's message. As I see We are not ready. So I continue the list of speakers and I turn to Mr. Željko Jovanović, the chairman of the board for ERIAC, the European Roma Institute for Arts and Culture, and president of the Roma Foundation for Europe. Mr. Jovanović, your leadership exemplifies the strength of Roma-led institutions in shaping European futures. We are proud to welcome you as the final speaker in this important opening session.
Thank you very much, Timea. Bahtaloa Marojes Romalen. First of all, I want to thank the organizers for making this event reality, which is very difficult since there are no outspoken Roma in the parliament. But today we just crowned a new Roma member of the parliament, Nicolae Ștefănuță. Not only because he hosts us today, but because of the incredible force of your message and speech the other day when you stood up for us. So let me start by reading you a letter. Dear European Union, Council of Europe, governments, dear ERGO, ERIAC, dear teachers, advocates, dear Romani leaders. My name is Luma. I'm 14 years old, and today in school we learned something amazing. We learned about April 8th, Roma Nation Day. Our teachers showed us a photo from a big meeting in London a long time ago. It was called the First World Roma Congress. There were Roma all over the world, speaking Romani, raising our flag, choosing our anthem. And then we learned about Roma heroes, not just the kind of heroes in movies, but real people, our people. We learned about Raymond Guhem, who escaped a Nazi camp and joined the French resistance. We learned about Rajko Đurić, a philosopher who showed to the world that we are wise thinkers. I learned about Nicolae Gheorghe, a diplomat who spoke up for our dignity to many governments in the world. I also learned about presidents of Brazil, Kubitschek and Washington, who were also Roma. We learned about poets Papusha and Mateo Maximov. We learned about champions like Tyson Fury and Ricardo Quaresma, who made us proud in stadiums and on the screens, like Johann Rukeli Trollmann, boxer in Nazi Germany, who was beating the Nazis at their own game. And the one I loved the most was Ceea Stoica, a survivor, a painter, a daring woman. She reminds me of my grandma. When I told my mom what I learned, she got really quiet. Then she said, I never learned these things in school. I only learned shame. So I wanted to thank you because you made this possible. You made sure that because of your international conventions, because of your policies, because of your projects, my school and teacher taught me all this. Thank you for all the work you did, for helping me walk into a classroom and feel proud of who I am. With gratitude, Luma. Luma lives in the future we are striving to build. This is a fiction character and fiction letter because of the reality of Roma children not having the opportunity to learn about their history in school. Yes, some schools and institutions have started teaching Romani history, but most of the time it is a story of pain, of discrimination, of anti-Gypsyism, of Holocaust. Rarely do they teach about our ideas, about our leaders, about our dignity, about our pride. We are shown as victims, but not as visionaries. And yes, more governments and institutions recognize and acknowledge April 8th, but its meaning is being slowly diluted, used to promote policies and programs that carry our name but have too little to do with the real message of the 8th of April. April 8th was not created to promote projects and policies. It was created to promote people, Roma people, our people, standing up and defining our future. Even the name has been softened. From Roma Nation Day, it was named by those who gathered in 1971 as Roma Nation Day, to International Roma Day, a more comfortable version. As Gratan Pukson, one of the original organizers of 1971 Congress, warned us, this is not just a name change. It is a downgrading of the original intent. So the question we face on this 8th of April, as every other 8th of April, is will we continue to talk about April 8th as a day for suffering and symbolic recognition? Or we will make it a meaningful celebration of what we built despite that suffering? April 8th was not meant to be a performance of pain. It was not created to remind Europe of what Europe has done to us. It was created to remind ourselves of what we are capable of. April 8th is about agency, about choosing our own name, choosing our own language, choosing our own symbols, choosing our own future. It is not about a day to rehearse victimhood. It is a day to rehearse autonomy. So some people will say after hearing this, oh, it's not the right time. It is very difficult. Look at the situation we are living in. The world is on fire. Yes, war in Ukraine, rising authoritarianism, polarized societies, polarized world, indeed. But let us remember, April 8, 1971 was not born in a better or more peaceful world. It was organized during the Cold War. Europe at the time was split by the Iron Curtain. Bratislava at that time declared loyalty to Moscow. Prague uprising was crushed by tanks. That was the time when the first Roma World Congress took place. And still at that time, Roma found each other across enemy lines, across ideologies, and across generations. And where did they gather? They gathered in a school, not a state building, not a parliament. It was a private school, Cannock House School, obtained by a Welsh traveler named Brian Raywood for free. That was a space outside the system, a place of learning and self-determination. So in 1971, no one gave us permission to gather. No system prepared the table for us. We set the table ourselves. That's what 8th of April should be about, building the schools, literal and political, where this Roma history is taught and Roma agency is practiced. So what it would mean today to act in the spirit of 1971. If our schools refuse to teach our history, we will teach it ourselves. If they delay, we will not wait. Because we already have the tools, Roma scholars, teachers, archives, linguists, we have ERIAC. ERIAC has ensured that the Roman language can now be taught, not only as a folklore, but as a living European language. For the first time, we have modern grammar, digital tools, professional training materials. Roman is no longer a language of nostalgia. It's a language of the future. And we are not building it alone. There are many others who are doing very valuable work. We have young Roma creators on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, telling stories our schools were never ready to tell. We have influencers reclaiming pride, resisting through dance, poetry, fashion, debate. We have AI that already uses Romani language. Yes, The same technology can be used to profile and discriminate, indeed. But social media and AI, not only the threats, there are also opportunities. Opportunities for self-education, opportunities for counter-history, and opportunities for public memory on our own terms. To those European politicians who speak so often of protecting the European way of life, we say this: Romani children like Luma are part of that life. So are Raymond Guhem, Ceea Stoica, Nicolae, Berge. April 8th is part of that European way of life. There is a reason that every Roma Congress has taken place here in Europe. April 8th was not born in Delhi or New York, it was born in London, because the largest part of the global Roma community has lived and created in Europe for centuries, and we will likely remain here for generations to come. So this is European history. This is the European way of life, and it must be protected not only from those who attack it, but from those who ignore it. To every young Roma listening to us today, I want to say this day is yours, even if the schools do not teach about it. We are not asking today for sympathy. We are building a future of unity, solidarity, and strength. Because this is what is the direction that the Roma Nation Day gives us. This is the direction. And if we follow that direction, somewhere in the future, Luma and her letter will no longer be fiction. She will become reality in our classrooms, in our movements, in our lives. Opre Romalen.
I believe we are ready to also screen the message from Minister Cotula.
I'm speaking to you today via a video message. Yet, I'm still honored that today, on the 8th of April, which is the International Roma Day, I can share a few words with you as the Minister of Equality, a member of the Polish Parliament, and as the Presidency of the Council of the EU. Thank you for addressing this important topic. We know that the Roma community in Europe is still facing discrimination, and the situation has worsened since February 2022. We must speak about it and look for inclusive solutions together, especially in the context of women and children, including refugee women and children. We also need to meet, get to know each other, network, and support each other. And we need to recognize and value that we share a common history, experiences, and the diversity of our societies. For more than a decade, both the Council of the European Union and the European Parliament have been close allies in the campaign to improve the situation of the Roma community, Europe's largest ethnic minority. Last December, the Council took note of the European Commission's report on the progress made and the challenges that still remain. It is clear that we must continue to work together in this area. The main responsibility lies within the member states, but the EU institutions also have a valuable role to play. Your actions are a guide on the path to systematic change that will improve the situation of the Roma community in Poland and in Europe, especially at times of many challenges. Nothing about us without us. This slogan, originating in the history of the Polish parliamentarism in the 16th century, has been also taken by many activists in the modern era here in Poland. Indeed, we cannot talk about the Roma without the Roma. Thank you for making this happen here in the House of the European Democracy. These challenges include keeping the memory of our common history, which is often painful, the situation of people from minorities who are still marginalized, ensuring that equal treatment applies to all of us, including the Roma communities. The fight against discrimination, housing, access to education, the issue of gender equality, and combating violence. This is also about counteracting misinformation directed towards the Roma community, which is the topic that will be taken upon next week at the Informal Council of Equality Ministers in Warsaw. In the Union of Equality, no one can be left behind, no one can be forgotten, and history cannot be erased. Diversity is our strength and our common pathway.
Thank you. Just a note for conclusion. As we listen to these distinguished voices, let us follow the recommendations from our speakers that Roma Week and Roma Day is more than an event. It is a collective act of visibility, courage, and political will to honor our beautiful, symbolic Romani nation. May today's gathering deepen our resolve to deliver not only wishes, but policies and practices that ensure dignity, rights, and opportunity for every Roma person in Europe. Opre Roma. I pass to the chairwoman of the second panel, Gabriela Hrabanova, director of ERGO. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let's do it. Ladies and gentlemen,
So where is it? The third?
I think,
Okay, no, no, waiting.
so you are there, Cyprian and Elena, or we change it if you want. So, ladies and gentlemen, can I ask you please stay seated? And I would ask my dear panelists to take a seat. Thank you very much for joining me. Yes, this one I don't want. And I Mr. Čistá sklenička. He's not coming yet, so maybe you can. He's not coming yet, and I asked them to change the thing. So please take your seats. Okay, so we have to start because the time actually is not allowing us to have a delay, even this photographical session here. If I can ask you to move a little bit out of this place. Thank you so much. Sorry. My name is Gabriela Hrabanova. I'm the director of the ERGO network, and I'm very glad to be chairing the second panel of the high-level event on the Roma culture and history. And this panel will explore how strategic alliances between institutions, civil society, cultural organizations, do you hear me, the translators? Can you hear me? Yeah? Okay, perfect. Thank you. Nice to get. So we're going to explore how can we work together, how the alliances can be made between institutions, civil society, cultural institution, and Roma themselves, and how we can actually help our history, culture, and language to get closer to the school curricula across the Europe. This discussion will highlight some good practices, but also the cooperative experience from the panelist organizations. So I'm very, as I said, honored to chair this panel, and I have a set of great panelists here. I would maybe briefly introduce you once you will take your place. We are very much limited by the time. As you know, we are actually about to close this event in, let's say, half an hour. So I would just ask the panelists to make sure that they would keep the time and that there will be not so much side discussions. And if we are, maybe we might even open a few questions from the floor at the end if we manage to kind of go with the flow and respecting the time. We also have Romani translation here. So for those they need, there is a channel 25, right? Is it the channel? And we have two Romani translators here. So if you need, please use these channels. And I would start with Eleni Tsetseku. She is the secretary of the Council of Europe, working with the ERIAC. And secretary, did I say that? No? No.
Secretary of the Roma, it's okay.
Secretary of the ERIAC, okay. And Committee of Experts on Roma and Travelers Issues. This is the ERIAC. And she will bring some of those experiences here to us that are coming from the Council of Europe. Because Council of Europe is setting the standards and guidance for the inclusive curricula, but also much more. So without further ado, Eleni, please take your floor.
Thank you, Gabriela. Thank you so much. Thank you for giving the floor to the Council of Europe Roma Travelers Division, which I represent here together with my colleague Caroline. I would like just to start with the inclusive values that we want to see translated into our educational settings. The Council of Europe, at the Council of Europe, we have the Index for Inclusion, which is a tool that we have used very often in our cooperation activities. And this index gives some detailed account on how what inclusive values are. So I will stop to a few of those. Viewing every life and every death as of equal worth, supporting everyone to feel that they belong, recognizing that inclusion in education is one aspect of inclusion in the society. So this is 3 principles that you will find in our index. So indeed, including Roma history and culture in school curricula is one method to instill in young students' mind that everyone is of equal worth, that beyond any other criteria, humanity is at the end of the day what brings us together, and we should keep us together. The long-term benefits of including Roma history and culture in school curricula should be clear for everyone. And I think in this room, it is clear for all of us. But if it is clear for all of us here, NGOs, international, intergovernmental organizations, high-level representatives of national governments, why do we still have so low number of good practices where Roma history and culture is reflected in the school curricula? Why? I probably have the reply to this question, because we have been working with member states a lot the last years to implement the European Court's judgments on desegregation. And there are too many stakeholders, too many categories of stakeholders that when we speak and when we talk about inclusive education and many needs. They are the curricula developers who need to be no biased and fully aware of what inclusive education entails. They're the ministries of education, in most frequent cases as the institutions coordinating the activity on curricula developers. And there we need political will and political stability so policies can be implemented. They're the teachers who need to implement the curricular changes. Teachers should be also anti-bias, diversity and inclusion. They need training. They need anti-bias, diversity and inclusion training, but also textbooks and materials to follow and to use. And then they are the parents. They are parents, the Roma and non-Roma, who need to be supportive of inclusive schooling, to foster the values promoted at school, also at home. And then there are the researchers and academia that they need to produce the knowledge that can ultimately benefit from education reforms. And the last stakeholder is the NGOs, the international intergovernmental organization, as us, who must dedicate resources to develop these tools and materials. And at the Council of Europe, we have dedicated resources. We have produced standards. This is one tool. The recommendation for the inclusion of the history of Roma travelers in the school curricula and teaching materials. But also we have tools, as the Deputy Secretary General mentioned earlier, we have tools to support the implementation of this recommendation. So these are ready-to-use tools, and we can support on case by case, based, of course, on the government's request, and to adapt it in the national context. So we have some member states, as it was already mentioned, where planets have aligned, where all the categories of stakeholders have understood the need for inclusive education, including special attention to the Roma history and culture in school curricula. So it is because there we have some alliances. And because these alliances, they fight for the same fight. So they could be a very good example. And alliances, this at national level, but alliances, we have also the European level. And this, I can give the example of the alliance on the Roma Holocaust recognition, and we are many there. Most of those are in this room today, here today. We have the Council of Europe, we have the European Commission, we have the OEC, ODIHR, we have ERIAC, we have the Central Council for German, Sinti and Roma, Ternipe, and IRA. This type of alliances can ensure coordination of multiple efforts at European level, but also increase the visibility on the topic among member states. Alliances also could build at national level on a more practical way. And we support these countries where efforts have started. I would just like to finish now, Gabriela, with the last thing, which I think it is very important. It is the diversification. And we should make a link of the role of the diversification, the curriculum that plays into efforts to combat, for instance, desegregation, school segregation. About such complex topics, such as school desegregation, we know at least this. It is very complex, and we are not going to analyze. But what we know is that it is not strictly about numbers and mathematical mixing of groups of students. There are several dimensions, and at the Council of Europe, we are in the process of exploring these dimensions into a new standard that we are currently developing. I see Mabera there. It is within our ADIROM committee. We are working on a new policy standard on desegregation and inclusive education. And I think on these dimensions, one of these dimensions is the inclusive education. It's very important, and curriculum diversification. And this includes working with educational institutions to adapt and diversify the curriculum to include Roma history and culture and their contribution to the local, national, and European history. But all this, including contributing to eradicating phenomena such as school segregation, cannot be achieved without institutional and even cross-border cooperation. And I do hope that we have started already this work with the Alliance, and we will continue with a new standard that we are working at the Committee of Ministers recommendation. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Eleni, for speeding up, but also for giving us the great overview of the work that the Council of Europe at the Roma is doing. And I also like this phrase that you said, that where planets get aligned, we are actually managing something, we are achieving something. So I just hope that it's not only today and that from now the planets will be aligned more and more for our cause. So thank you very much. Then I would ask Cristian Niculescu. He's a director from Romanian Cultural Institute in Berlin. He's our next speaker. And here I think that we will actually explore what are the roles of role of cultural institutions in reframing public narrative, and an example how a mainstream institution can bring the Roma culture promotion within this program. So Cristian, the floor is yours. You have to press the button. Yes.
Hello, dear Mrs. Timea Junghaus, dear Gabriele Rabona, dear Mr. Nicolae, dear colleagues. I'm very happy to be here today, and I would like to say a few words. I will try to be very short. Today, on International Roma Day, we honor the resilience, creativity, and rich cultural heritage of Roma communities across Europe and beyond. Of course, we are talking here about projects like In School by European Parliament and Council of Europe, train educators and support Roma students with mentoring and inclusive practices. Maybe we can stop the
Can we actually ask? Yeah, we cannot. I think we cannot.
So we should, of course, not forget some of Europe's darkest chapters, like enslavement of Roma in Romanian territories for over 500 years, and the Roma Holocaust, in which hundreds of thousands were murdered by Nazi regime and collaborators. As a concert pianist and cultural manager and leader of the Romanian Cultural Institute, I have witnessed the power of music and the arts to open hearts and change minds. Culture has a unique ability to cross borders and break down barriers. That is why cultural institutions, including Romanian Cultural Institute abroad, must play a central role in reshaping educational concept through partnerships with schools, exhibition, international festivals, teacher training, and public programs. They can help bring Roma history and excellence to the center of the European story. The Roma contribution to Europe's cultural, intellectual, and artistic life must be celebrated. Roma writers, thinkers, musicians, and artists have shaped European identity for centuries. Their music has influenced classical composers, jazz innovators, and folk tradition alike. This is not a footnote to Europe culture. This is European culture. Romanian composers were deeply inspired by Romanian folk melodies, including Roma music. Enescu, George Enescu, became began playing the violin at age 5, taught by a Roma musician, which was not uncommon in rural Romanian at that time, as many Roma musicians were highly skilled and played an important role in local musical tradition. Romani musicians have shaped the soundtrack of Romanian cultural identity, bleeding, patient, technically, mastery, and traditional. Their contribution extends beyond entertainment. It is deeply woven into the fabric of Romanian heritage. There are many famous Romani musicians who were honored with titles like Emeritus Artist, Cultural Merit Order, Artist of People, or became honorary citizen in Romania. So let me conclude, including Roma history and culture in national curricula is not a cultural favor. It is a democratic and educational necessity. If we want a fairer, more truthful Europe, one that lives up to its values, we must start with teaching the whole history. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your contribution to this panel. And I would like to move to Nicolae, the Executive Director of the Roma Education Fund. We know that Roma Education Fund is playing a key role in improving the education across Europe, but also Western Balkan. And we would really, I would like to hear your contribution to this event. Please, Ciprian.
Thank you, Gabriela. It's an honor to be here. Now you hear me? Yes. It's an honor to be back in the European Parliament to talk about education, which is, a very broad subject, very important, and now more specifically about curricula. As Bjorn said earlier, curricula is about ideology, what we want to learn, what is useful and what is not. So probably the discussion is deeper than surface of, let's introduce the history here and there. What type of education our kids, not Roma, generally speaking, should receive nowadays. And I think it's an overall discussion about this now, about the curricula that should correspond to the political and social challenges that we have today in Europe and worldwide. And Roma should be part of that discussion, not isolated again. Not discuss about our curricula within a bigger curricula. No, Roma should be part of a bigger discussion about how the education will look like in the near future to, align with what it is, the cultural, political, and social new context. Social media is changing a lot. AI is changing a lot. As Jekhipe Ivanovic said, I was part of an education system where shame related to Roma was provided. I learned about the Roma slavery, half millennium, only in university. Till then, I knew that the brave Romanians abolished slavery, of whom nobody told us and didn't know. I think, again, as Jekhipe said, he was talking about a letter from the future. I will talk about an example from the past. We have in Romania a community that is called Toflea, in which lives 7,000 Roma segregated. In this village of 7,000 Roma, there are 300 university graduates, proud people, businessmen. They made it. That school is not segregated because the quality of education is so high. And this happened with the local engagement. People build complementary support system to the public system. They were teaching soft skills like digital, like Roma history, like universal knowledge that in school was not taught. So it is possible. And then nobody complained about segregation in that case because the quality of education, Roma among themselves could perform. We should not run from this. I just hear, like everything that when our few Roma, it's immediately segregation. If the quality of education proves that it's successful, the kids afterwards, why not? Why we should run away from this? And I think, and I will close, I know Gabriela is in a rush, education to us education is not a purpose by itself, cannot be a purpose by itself. It's a vehicle toward something. And in Europe, there are some, objectives that are claimed to be related to education. For F, the organization that I'm leading, it's to learn to do, to know the environment, to live with others, and most important, to be comfortable with who you are. Learning about yourself is crucial because psychologically, you need that when you are growing up to perform. To do, you need to have a profession that corresponds to the labor market. You cannot be out of the market learning something like I saw in some countries, forester. Nobody hires that anymore. So we'll need to adapt this to the context. That's why education to us, Roma Education Fund, it's building resilience. And we have design programs. You can check our website already that corresponds to this path. So curricula, it's important. We have to push it for everybody, and we have to be part of a bigger discussion than segregated. Again, this is the segregation. When you talk about curricula and Roma, without actually talking about general curricula and being part of that discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ciprian. And yeah, totally agree. I think that all the policies, including the curricula, all the mainstream initiatives have to work for Roma, right? And we have to be part of designing them as well. So that comes with the education as well. I would invite then Michaela Zatranu. She is a leading expert on the Roma language initiative from ERIAC, from the European Arts and Culture Institute. And she will be speaking Romanes. So for those who need a translation, please take your headsets. And Michaela, the floor is yours.
I thank you very much, Gabriela. Thank you all for being present here today to celebrate the Romani Day. Out of moral reasons, of course, as a author of the Romani language books published by ERIAC, I feel that I'm responsible to speak today in Romani, in our language. Not avem bahtale, pralale haipeniale, raiale, tairaineale, tavel bahtalo amaro romano dives. Se mav dives catete penavtumenge, palamari butica e kerdiam lan, pali romani cib. Naidosta toke egajete crena ma viame Roma, so kerdiam sa vesi av mare rezultaturia. Hai simange drago, te penavtumenge av dives palamari butica e kerdiam ande le Evropaco Romano Instituto palarte tai cultura miream ala pendetumenge mai anglal, kai cotesiec zorali inițiativa kai astardeam pali romani cib. I romani inițiativa sa stardiando berș 2000 taibiș, catar le Evropaco Instituto palalt arte tai cultura sa pendemtumenge mai anglal, jutimasa cataro germanicano federalo africano offiso. Decana stardiam cadea inițiativa barilisariec vașno internaționalo networko, credeam buti Universitetul Rența, Sarsio Universiteto Cataro Graz, o Consiliul Evropaco, o Goethe Instituto, i București Universiteta Cotecasia Meniec secția Pali Romani Cib, o Interculturalo Instituto andari Timișoara tai Butaver. Ec vașno decizia ca amelileam, ande cadea inițiativa, sa steputara spalemo concepto pali chetani romani cib. Verver cataraver cibea, i romani cib nailaniec tem, kai cadocherel kai e tradițional no temesche politiche pali cib, tena kerem buti ande cadea situația. Cadalache chetanes, le romani cibiache consilosa, cadosi cardo andar romani experturia andar sasti Europa, cado del vast tekeras mai dur caia vizia pali romani chetani cib. Cado consilo le romano cibiaco si scerut neardo catare romane experturia sar pendem, cai jutisardo cataro ERIAC, cai e internaționalo partenerea. Amari vizia naite paruvas e dialecturia amate anaslen chetanes. Anaverdeam codo armonizația. Cadea chetani romani cib del vasti comunicația mașcar e romane comunitete, jutisarel o dialogo i conexia te buhlearel amare glasurea pe sasti Europa. Amenika maste cosas, a calaver dialecturea, saco dialecto siles lesco șucaripe, tai ververipe. Saco dialecto, incherel Andrei exasti lumea, siles leschi muzica, leschi istoria, tai pesco di chipe pal sasto sundal. Cadalache amenge e dialecturea le romane cibia che si importanto, ca donaștite coselpes, tai trebuite jal mai dur. E chetani cip zoreale rela maro romano identiteto, tai del vast amare ternente vacherente ramosaren, tai te gelen pensa i romani cip ande savore riga penge givimasche. Mașcare važno butea kaj kerdam ande kadeja iniciativa ando ERIAC, kerdeam ek zora lo baronetorko siklarnengo, translatoriengo, romane experturengo pali romani cip andar sasti Europa, kerdeam ek netorko universiteturengo kaj si ande Europa, kaj bariol mai dur, saco Berge keras ek internaționalno konferencija pali romani cip kote aracasa menech varo pro Berge ando divesle romano cibiaco kaj si ando 5 novembro, taj mai važno sar savore, kerdeam ek seriali lengi kate si mantoke ek andar lende te si kavaft mega ma si trin lila, vaše mai bare manuša, kaj te si klion romani cib, i ketani romani cib, pal sar pendem tu menge ande ketani romani cib si savore dialecture andre, kaj respecti sarde, amai romani cib. Andaramende e romasi mai but de sarek instrumento comunicațiaco, andare romane chave, si o anglunou dar caringo hatiari pele lumeaco. Si baza catar lengo godisaripe, emoție ta identiteto. Penelenge catar vona vile tai delen vaste oven loșale par sosi tai sarsi. Gia cana ande mai but școle ande sasti Europa, ca dovažno kotor andar lengo identiteto sas bisterdo. Tai si mai dur bisterdo. Tai lesko bisteripe anel amenge, tai savorenge bare pokinimata. Savorero di mata confirmi saren. So ame savoregianasc andar amare experiențe e chave siclion mai mișto andepenge da cib. Specialo canasi mai tignore. Jutisarelente Bariaren pengo godisaripe, vaz de lengo dichipe, tai hatiaripe, tai zoriaren lengi pachivan de peste. Canai romani cib, sidini rigate, andari educația, ca dobi chalel ec ducavno mesajo. Che romani cultura nailantan andre. Ca doperavel le romane chavenghi pachivan depende, lengo identiteto tai lengi motivația te siclion. Cadalacă janas sode romane chave janavri andari școl. Amacana lengi cip si lili samate e chavore zorailion, na mai daran, tai silen mai but pachiv, tai sibaricane. Bibachta sai romani cip na cliandar shela berșenghi discriminația, e asimilația pe zor, tai le istoria che traume, sarsaso holocausto, a chavde but romane glasuria. Avdives zoriarindosi romani cipsi ec modo sastiari masco, te anas palpale amari pachiv, te amaro digniteto. Sar siclearni de mai but berșa, de mai but sarbici berșa te penav, diclem sari absența le romane cibiachi, ande școle, per avel le romane chavorengo patiabe, tai lengo hatiaripe che si Roma. Incluzia naimila. Incluzia si justiția. Tai inclusivno educația si mai butar saric fizicno acceso ande ec clasa. Incluzia mangel te kerempes tana kai savore sicliovne vie romane chave hatiarempes mișto si respecti sarde tai si reprezenti sarde. Te kerem calitativno educația e școle trebalen telen samate e cibia e istorie tai culture penge sicliovnenge savorenge na toke sar alava amasar practica ande saco dives. E nacionalo politike trebalte len samate I romani čip sarjek legitimo čip vaš o identiteto taj vašo siklipe. I romani čip ta historia trebalte ovel todi andi generalo curricula te ovel kerde la celila tai șucar treinui sar de romane siclerne. Egaje tai Roma tai si siclerne trebalte ovelen la čo trainingo tai educația kai si culturalo adaptisardi, tai școle trebalte ovelen planurea kai telen samate e ce culturalo situație penge sicljovnenge. I romani čip na trebalte ovel toke simbolično, ande škole, kado si je kvasno paso karing o ekiteto, identiteto, kaj socialo koezija. Kana kamaste ovel succesole romane čaven, trebalte dazlenge I šansa te oven von, kaj te jiven pengo čačipe. Na I saraftu menge, savorenge taj inke igdata, te oven bahtale romale, kaj te jas te avas zorale, te gelasa mari buti mai dur. Parlo.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Michaela. And thank you for saying how the language is important for us, for the language experience, and also how much you and ERIAC invested into the work in healing and promoting the language. Thank you for the recommendations. And I see how much appreciated it was also by the people that actually we could have hear our language here in the institution, in the European Parliament on the 8th of April, which is very important day for us, as well as we need to celebrate this heritage that we are having. As we are running very much out of time, practically we're supposed to close already 10 minutes ago the whole conference. So I would still ask you for a bit of patience here, just that we can actually finish the event also with the closings. I would also ask the patience of our translators, if this is possible, that would bear with us for a little bit more. And then actually I didn't want it to open for any question, Delia, but if you would have just very, very short one from you, no, it's dangerous. So, okay, so I am taking 2 and no more, yes? So, and then we will, so Delia, please, you take the floor.
Our colleague was the first one after him.
Yeah. But if I can just ask you to be very short and very precise.
Okay.
Oh, that's the 3, but very short and very precise. Thank you. And a question, if possible.
Mangavte penav tumega savaranga, te avel tumek Berge lasho, te avel tumek Traio lasho, mesem o presidento gata internațional România Unia, ai camate penap tumega că ande amari organizația cărdilo cada 10-8 april, ando London, ai ameca mas, ai amarăș avete janen că same cada des, că veame sam todine ande cada la programe ca să le manușeng, ai te namecas amari cultura, amari tradiția, amesemu oricana pașa tumende, cana să te protejisara se cultura, tradiția, hai vorba romai. N-ai sarap tumengă, anda cada oportunitatea că sunt adesea în Parlamentul, ai mangau buța stimose ale romengă în întregul lumea.
Bravo, president. President.
Thank you very much. Yes, please.
O iru perdea doki. Sorry.
Iz poštovanja ću ustat, onda uz poštovanje ću ustat. Ja govorim bosanski. Malko da prevodi.
We don't have a translation.
Mesem magistro Mehmet Mujić, a vavan dar Bosna i Hercegovina, radijan governmentam vlada, u ime marne vladatar andar Bosna i Hercegovina, kamam budbahtali pero menče, povodom oktoto... Ok, oktoto svjetsko žive. Mesme expert je romano političari, kaj bud bršal jem te bavima katar bište duj brša v parlamentu. Me mora varčete penavtme. Amen internacionalno IRU, me se mi podpredsjednik IRU-a magistro, medikav gavaj najlačipe palamare Roma bište jekto vjeko. Amen mora valjda mari revolucija. Me kamam sar intelektualčo sa romen da muj. Amen mora vol ispred IRU-a. Romane političara an Evropsko parlamentu.
Bravo.
Mora venamen državni službenikura, državni namještenikura an institucije. Parlamente našti nikovo dije borba. Menija šindem kaj neko dol borba politički. A me Roma mora da žive pokrenuća rane vi revolucija intelektualno. Te bavijamen političkim pitanjima te brani sa interesura Roma an Evropa. Desničarske partije ojači sarde. Baro fašizmo je romenđe, an bište jek to vjeko. Socijaldemokraterno politički partije kaj najfašistura morate dičente amen zajednički dvije. Našti amen samo čera amen mora čera integrativno politika te dam pore diaspore an reforme an budžetura i gavajma je bud sati pete dural peka amari penda an školi. An škole, ministeriju, tu binden saglasnost, te amareč havre, aven romanološki fakultetura, guako IRU čeror, jer o IRU hijaka na ozbiljna institucija, kaj kaba vipe politički. Amen romalen, našti višašćara, bište jek vjeko. Tu menđane namari bogatu istorija, a krvavo počintam. Metu men, molijaka na jek minuta šutna, jer oktoto april, bot Roma mudarde povodom holokausta. Molite me te uštenite den jek minuta poča, diklen gva je greška. Meni kamam me guamo.
Thank you very much. We are happy for your contribution. And then a few words from no.
I like to say
They will kick us from the room, so we have to make sure that we finish on time. This is very important. Thank you. Delia?
Semidelia Grigore Tari România, semando Jalimose Romengo de opretele Trianda Bărștai, siamena Maria Organizația Mare Romența, tai o programo estudiaco pali romani Shiba, romani cultura ande Universitatea Bucureștiosche. Cam alte penau vi metu menge sau re romenge, but bahai sastimosai, loșai, te avas pachivale, sarsam, te avas zorar, te anela mare zora, te avas zorar de, te avas opre romale. Dacă am te pușau vareso, acana ca penau gajicanes, ca penau anglicanes. I have a question, especially for Mrs. Tsetsecu.
Just comments.
Comments. I just wanted to ask if for including the Romani language and culture and history in the curricula, in the mainstream curricula, we need, in my opinion, and the question is that, maybe rhetorical, maybe not, to recognize the Roma in all over Europe as a national minority, because this is a condition actually to really change the curricula. If not, it's going to be optional, it's going to be just like at the goodwill or not goodwill of each and every Ministry of Education. So this is the question.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for the contribution. I think actually you answered the question by saying the question in a way that it is important to have a certain recognition of the Roma nationalities or nation around the member states. I would say this is one of the things. But then I would not leave this as a conclusions here, and we just need to move forward. Thank you very much, my panelists. I would like to call here Akos Topolanski, if he can come to this table. I mean,
we move on.
You can move. Thank you very much. Thank you, the panel. This is one of the toughest work usually which is happening, and to give the conclusions. And we are honored to have here a president of the Permanent Group on Inclusion of Roma of the European Economic and Social Committee. And if I may ask you to give us few concluding words on what are the impressions and the kind of taken out from this event, if I may.
Zita? No, okay. No, I won't. Actually, in the remaining very short time, which is close to the 0 in seconds, I mean, I won't speak lengthily because I respect your and our rights for lunch and discussion on the floor. Actually, what I would do it, leaving all my speech on the bank, just to quote some of the verbs I picked up, like integrate, give, discuss, pay attention, ensure, analyze and revise, include, develop, share, refer to, celebrate. These are the verbs which can open the future in a desperate present, or a rather desperate present, open the future for a better life, which is very important for me, for us, for the committee I am leading, and for the future of our community as well. Thank you very much for the organizing this really important meeting, especially for me. Culture is something which should be preserved and allow to represent for ourselves, especially for those who are not having the opportunity for doing this. Thank you for the organization, and I wish all the best for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Akos, but also thank you. I would like to also kind of remind that actually last year, when during the time of the elections to the European Parliament, we couldn't meet here for the Roma Week in the European Parliament, but it was the Economical and Social Committee that hosted us and provided us a great deal of help and recognition. Not the first time, but for the Roma Week. Yeah. The whole week was actually happening for the first time. Before you had platform, our event. You are right. But the Roma Week was the first. So as we are coming to the end of the event, it's practically its start. But this high-level event gave us thoughtful contributions and also show commitment that it's around the different organizations. And we see that getting the Roma history and culture into school curricula, it's not only about education, but it's about recognition, justice, and building more inclusive Europe. And without any much further ado, because I could go on speaking, I would still like to say few thank yous. And it's to the Ergo Network and the team led by Isabella Michalake, to ERIAC, to ERIAC, to the European Commission also for supporting this event, for the member of the Parliament Ștefănuță and his assistants who were really helping us to make sure that this event is happening here today, to all the panelists, to our translators, thank you very much as well. And before we closing up, I would like to ask my colleague to play the Romani anthem to make the closing, and then still the musician. And then there will be still the musicians, and after we will invite you for a lunch, which is outside of this room, or actually here.
Sasavima Bari familia Modardasla Ikalilekia Dolen sindas Viromen Mascardente Visigne sabore
Budar devlar dekale udara desai di kam muri familia balem gajah lungo nedromensa takapiran bahtale romensa
And for the final moments, do we still have you, right? No? We still have you?